Oh, they're actually going to blast home back in.
Better watch out for spike damage on the back side. It's going to do a bit.
Oh, down, man.
Oh, what the fuck?
I'm coming from base. They see me from base. I'm from base. Arya's ult soon.
Kill Elise, we can do bit.
Yeah,
kill Elise.
Yeah, keep taking Baron. Keep taking the Baron.
Hello and welcome to another edition of LCS Tonight, where we get to recap all the happenings from this week in the LCS, week 3 that is. I'm joined by Aiden Zyrene Moon and Sam Kobe Hart McKenzie. How you guys doing today?
I
see you got your fidget spinner right along with you.
Man, I feel like Phoenix One was trying to bribe me on the cast.
Already knocked out of his hand.
Get yours out of there.
Is that because you were worried I was going to bore you or something? You needed something to entertain yourself throughout the segment?
Nah, it's for focus.
No, definitely not that.
Definitely not that. All right, well then let's focus and get right into it with the standing. Let's go ahead and start there. Taking a look at these as we pull them up onto the screen. We've got Immortals, Counterlogic Gaming, and Team Dignitas all sitting at 5-1. Of course, TSM in that 4th place slot. But, you know, it's nice to see, oh, wait a second, all of the old guard teams right back up there at the top of the table. Although in a slightly different order.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I mean, this is probably the most confused about standings I've been in a very long time, because you can usually have a pretty good gauge of where people are. But I feel like the league is actually just so damn close. We're seeing so many 3-game series. We're even seeing like Envy, Echo Fox, and Phoenix One take a lot of these teams to 3 games, even though they're near the bottom of the standings too.
Yeah, I had a moment to talk to Jat earlier in the week a little bit about parity, and just by looking at those game records, it is kind of crazy to see how close most of these series have been, even though some teams sit at that 5-1 match record. It's taken a lot of work to get there.
Yeah, I mean, going into the games, you can definitely feel like Team Liquid and FlyQuest are the most underdog that we probably have in the league right now. I actually would not put them down in the same group.
Well,
with Mike Young,
today?
Mike Young is the savior.
Seal of approval.
All right, Mike
I'll put them one step above those
one tier above. All right, well, with that in mind, let's dive into a couple of the key matchups from this weekend, starting with C9 versus FlyQuest that we saw today, the Civil War. This was a 2-0 in favor of C9. We've been asking for them to return to form a little bit, and here we finally had some dominant games out of them.
Yeah, you can definitely say that again. They were extremely dominant. There was maybe only a couple openings where FlyQuest actually, got any sort of momentum in either of those games.
And you were talking about, we're waiting for C9 to get back to form. I feel like Jensen's been in form the entire time. The guy is a monster. His KDA.
Team, please.
Right, exactly. It's that whole thing where it's like, everybody help me out. But I definitely feel like Cloud9, you look at their losses, a lot of those are 3-game series, right? I think the only one that they've lost that wasn't 3 games was against TSM at the very beginning, and that's it. Right. Otherwise, Cloud9 has been like having those games where there are throws, where they're ahead, where the mid lane's up, and it hasn't been converting completely.
Right, exactly. That 3-3 record isn't as grave as it might look, considering that they were the 2nd place team from spring. They're definitely still very much in it, and series like this will provide leagues in terms of confidence building for both the squad and the fans of Cloud9. Moving right along, Phoenix One versus CLG from today as well. This was a 2-1 victory for CLG over Phoenix One. Kobe, this is your opportunity to talk to me a little bit about Mr. Mike Young. Mike Young
going off, yeah. I mean, he was making Dardoch sweat a little bit here in this series, especially when he gets his Lee Sin. Really strong performances.
Yeah, Mike Young actually tweeted out about yesterday. Apparently he had the wrong mouse settings and monitor settings.
Right.
And then he shows up today and he makes Dardoch kind of look like the rookie. He was blasting Dardoch. He killed him in the jungle in game 2. Was able to avoid a ton of the invades from Counterlogic Gaming. And that's what I love about this rookie here, is he has an incredible game sense, and he's just enough in terms of passive and aggressive at the same time that he's not making all those rookie mistakes you usually see.
And on top of that, he comes in with most public knowledge around him being that, hey, this guy is that Lee Sin one-trick up-and challenger who's got a crazy win rate. Well, he comes in, plays 4 unique champions in his first weekend of LCS.
I think it's BS.
To varying degrees of success, obviously. And this is not to say that just because he's a one-trick, he never played another champion, but it speaks already to a young player coming in with a solid level of confidence to pull out all of those 4 champions in week 1 and perform to some degree on each of them.
Yeah, and it's not like we're saying, oh yeah, he's the big superstar in the league now or something like that. It's compared to expectations for a rookie coming in summer split, right? They're definitely above average. So I have to say though, talking about expectations coming in, I feel like he was also talking to other teams because of the fact that he was dueling with Bjergsen on Bjergsen's stream and stuff, and there's a couple other things that are going on. Makes me think that more than just Phoenix One, we're looking at this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's such a good player, and I was looking at his solo queue, like 150 plus games of Lee Sin on his main account, and then it went like 50 more, etc. on other champions. So he's not just a one trick, right? He's actually got game sense and can pick up all these other champions and have a plus 70% win rate on him. So yeah, I think other teams were looking at him because a lot of people are trying to get those academy squads going.
Right.
But I want to jump to the other side here because Counterlogic Gaming had another 3-game series where it looked like they could have lost it at some point.
Exactly.
And they aren't looking as solid as we had thought they were coming into the week, and it might just be parity in the league and like other teams being good, but we were expecting Counterlogic Gaming, after the performances they've been putting up, to really crush some of these opponents near the bottom of the standings.
Yeah, and we'll just have to track how that team develops because, of course, slotting in Dardoch there, you still see in moments those aggressive tendencies that we wouldn't have seen from a previous CLG squad, and sometimes that bites them and extends these games as they are. Going to push us along to our final series. This is Immortals versus C9 from yesterday. Immortals coming out on top 2-1 in this series.
Yeah, this was a really hard-fought one, and then it came down to a lot of Xmithy steals. Xmithy's kind of the guy who stood out in this series to me because this one was neck and neck, and once again, another Cloud9 game where they aren't able to close it completely, but it still ended up being a fantastic series to watch.
Yeah, it's a very heartwarming story here for Immortals, right? I mean, Xmithy gets traded over. Most people thought they lost the trade and all this, and they didn't even do that well last split, even when they did have Dardoch. So to have all these guys kind of step up, you know, the bottom lane is absolutely crushing it. You know, Pobelter was doing well with Xmithy setting him up, and even Flame in the top side. Is Flame horizoning people like he's supposed to sometimes,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it is kind of an interesting, if you track the story from the inception of Immortals to where they are now. You got the superstar squad that comes in, smashes the NALCS regular season 17-1, right? But then lose 2 of the star players that really made that squad, try and rebuild, then go to a trade where a lot of people are saying, yeah, they're losing that trade. So in the public mind, again, you know, downgrade. But here they are, topping the league, 5-1 in match record. I mean, it is technically possible for them to match the 17-1. We'll see if they do it. But it's great to see the team gelling when we interview them. The way, you know, the smiles on their faces when they talk about how the synergy on the team is developing and the environment that they're getting to practice and play in, it all seems good over there in the Immortals camp.
And I feel like a lot of that is because they've had those moments where we're smashing scrims with Huni and Rainover. We just crushed everybody. And then they don't learn a whole bunch and get to playoffs, and then they end up losing. And so I've talked to the staff, and they're like, man, it just seems like the opposite. When they're losing a whole bunch of scrims, they win on stage because they are actually putting forth the effort. And so I feel like Pobelter and Xmithy, who both have a lot of veteran experience, are really just making sure that the team is focused at all points. You're seeing Xmithy sacrifice himself to take out key members, and that's really what makes the difference on that team for me, is that him flashing forward to Cocoon Jensen, so he kind of looks like, you know, he didn't get ultimate off in the fight. It's like, well, Xmithy outplayed there.
Absolutely. Well, those were just a few of the key matches from this week, and I'm going to push us ahead now to the OP5. We're awarding 5 players, 1 in each position, for honors in play this week. Starting in the top lane, we've got Someday of Dignitas, followed by his teammate in Shrimp.
Shrimp is a pimp.
I mean, see, Shrimp coming in is going to surprise a lot of people, but off of the bench, he has had an outstanding impact here for Team Dignitas. Crazy stats. You know, coming into today, he was #1 in gold at 10, experience at 10, and he's going for a lot of, you know, flexible early paths. These level 2 ganks are coming out. They're surprising people. He just seems more versatile than people thought.
And that's what I think affects those gold at 10 stats for junglers, is getting that early kill off and then sometimes picking up the farm afterwards, etc. And so I feel like Shrimp, he's always had that style, even back in Challenger, where it's like, man, heavy farm, out-farm the guy, but then it's shifted where he's very gank-focused now, and probably is one of the most aggressive junglers pre-5 minutes. And as Shrimp receives the award, Mike Young will get the honorable mention in that role. I'm going to now jump down to the bot and support players. We had Cody Sun and Ole, so again, teammates there for Immortals, earning the OP5 slots for their positions. Yeah, they outplayed really hard. They were able to really outplay, I believe it was Team Liquid's bottom lane very heavily, and the clip where Ole flashes the cocoon from Rainover as Rainover flashes over him, and they both flash, it was just so good. But the bottom lane's been playing out of their mind, and we talked about Immortals after they picked up these two guys that, oh man, they're going to be a top-focused team again, just like it was Huni, etc. Now, it's not that case. They can actually play through the bottom lane.
You go all the way back to IEM, right?
Katowice.
No, when they first slotted in Korea,
Gyeonggi.
in Gyeonggi. And again, a lot of people were throwing criticism at them because they hadn't been gelling quite yet. Again, to watch this duo grow over the last year has been absolutely phenomenal. And I've said it already many times this weekend, Ole is fast becoming my favorite support from a watching perspective, from a viewer perspective, because it's just exciting. You got something you want to throw in on those two guys?
Well, not if you do it awkward like that.
Well, I was going to move on, and then you gave me the, no, go.
No, too late.
He wants his fidget spinner back.
It's all there. I'm not going to get up and go get it. Well, then talk to me about Jensen, because he's the last guy on the OP5. This is, we already talked about, my team.
Jensen right now is the best mid laner that we have in the North American LCS. Okay. And everybody always gets angry about that. Up in arms, fighting for Bjergsen, pitchforks. But right now, Jensen, even in the games that they're losing, he's making outstanding performances every single game.
Yeah, he was like that as well last split, too. Right? He has some of the best laning stats, etc. And even like his CS per minute's always the top of the league right now. So
the important thing is I say it right now, though, because when we get to big games, that's where the criticisms always come for Jensen, right? The big moments where he's trying to take on Bjergsen under a turret or the ultimates and all that stuff.
But to a degree, when you are the single point of failure for your team, which it seems to be he is at this current moment, more eyes go to those situations where, he didn't hit the zonies. Well, what about the 47 other plays he made this game? I'm sorry that this one happened. The guy has been straight out playing people left and right. Okay, he misclicks one time or mispositions one time. Yes, it will lose them the game, and we can't ignore that. But again, I would say that he's way out in front when it comes to.
He would not have been in a position to have that lose them the game if he wasn't playing the way he was before that.
Exactly.
He was the reason they were still in that game.
We're going down a rabbit hole, so I'm just going to move on to the next card, which is the Twitter questions. We asked you guys to throw us questions so that Kobe and Zyrene could answer them. First up, Jonathan Lopez says, do you think the changes to Doran's ring will affect the top lane meta? If so, how?
Yeah, because they're going to be more starved for mana. I don't think it's a huge impact. And I'm very curious to see which champions actually are like on that line of we actually need this much mana that the two passives off of the other two rings aren't going to work.
Right.
I don't think it's going to change it a huge amount, but I'm curious to see if anybody's on that line where with that nerf, then they're actually not going to be able to, wave clear efficiently.
Yeah, and like just to look at it from like a number standpoint, every time you kill all 6, that's 24 mana back.
Right.
So having 3 of those, you're ending up with, what is that, like 72 mana back, right? Off of a spell that would cost 80 mana as Galio, you're just like, oh, we're back up. I'm actually getting mana back as I clear the waves. So Galio may be a little bit on that line. He's the one that I really think about, but it means that Fiora, these champions like Renekton, etc., Shen that don't use it ever are still going to be up there in the top. So I don't think it'll change the meta that much at all.
Hey, if we see more carries, I'll be happy. I don't need any more.
There's a lot right now.
There are a lot, but that's what I'm saying. The triple Doran's ring Galio thing is getting
I feel like the thing it will affect, though, is like a lot of mid laners in bad matchups will go double Dorans into starting their next item, so we might see Dark Seal slot in there instead. But a lot of people took that because they wanted the HP for the survivability. Right. So that may change slightly instead of seeing double Dorans from some mid laners.
Well, we'll know the answer definitively soon enough. Next up, the Fire Godai FS says, with things like Orianna, Ivern, Lulu, Karma, etc. being decent to meta, why do you think we don't see more hyper carry ADCs more often? So I guess because those champions are still playable in which they can support hyper carries, why aren't we seeing hyper carries?
I feel like we're seeing a lot of Caitlyn and Kog'Maw and stuff like that, though.
So then and we even saw Twitch today. We saw Arrow pull out Twitch. Yeah. Okay, so then what we aren't seeing in terms of hyper carries are what? We're not seeing the Vayne. We're not seeing Jinx. We've seen a little bit of Kog'Maw, not a ton.
We saw Twitch as well.
And then, we saw the Twitch. So, I mean, so to answer the question, there are some hyper carries being played.
Yeah.
I think that it's just choosing those who are more impactful of the hyper carries.
And the problems with the champs that you listed that we aren't seeing, like Vayne and Jinx, are different from hyper carry versus non-hyper carry champion. Like Vayne, it's always the laning phase, right? That we're pointing to, and like how feasible is it?
It's not that she's a hyper carry. Yeah. It's that she has short range and can get abused in.
Caitlyn is like top priority right now.
Oh, so. Absolutely. Caitlyn is up there in the S tier, like first pickable. People are banning her, even blue side sometimes. So she's pretty crazy with the Energizer build.
Right.
But I feel like the bigger issue there is Lulu Karma how much of those champions did we actually see this weekend, especially today and yesterday?
Way less. Because Blitz is getting banned now. We've got Rakan left and right. Thresh
is the most played support globally right now. Then there's like Braum up there, Tom Kench. So we're seeing a lot more playmakers because people are respecting the ability to just start a fight and turn it around very quickly.
Gotcha. All right, well, so I don't know if we helped you at all with that answer. Next up, Messiah Strikers said, CLG has been really good with amassing early leads, but struggle to end games quickly. What do you think is the cause and a proposed fix?
This is one of the things I want to talk about before when you were going to give me the opening. But CLG, one of the things with CLG, yes, they have improved a lot with Dardoch. They still, it looks like they need a lot of time to kind of fine-tune things, because when you listen to their communications in the clips where we get mic checks and stuff, a lot of it is around, oh yeah, great job, or we smashed them, and like they're communicating a lot of things to like hype each other up and get people like confident and stuff like that. But for teams that are going to be like at the peak, you shouldn't need to do that, right? It should be communication involving information that you're going to need, flashes, ultimate cooldowns, stuns available, this type of stuff, and a little bit more focus on, okay, great, that was great, but next we're going to go get Dragon. Next we're going to push down this turret, rather than, oh, nice binding, dude, sick kill.
Right, okay, so they need a little bit more proactive shot calling as opposed to living in the moment or the excitement of what
or
they
even
just
the past
accomplished.
Sometimes too.
Okay.
I know like Dardoch will sometimes ruminate on mistakes, etc. But the communication thing that you're talking about, I don't know if that really ever gets completely fixed for some people, because it's a personality quirk as well for some, where they need those words of affirmation in the middle of a game to be like, I can do this, or you're a beast, you go for that kill and have the confidence.
Well,
so
sure. Yeah.
You hope
How many times do I have to tell you that you're a beast for you to know that you're a beast?
Yeah.
Also,
I'm speaking from experience.
How many times do I have to tell you you're a beast before you smite steal a Baron? Does it make you play better? Do we win because I tell you that you're good?
Well, you give me permission to go do it, so
there you go.
I don't know.
Okay, all right. There's a little bit of
And then if I screw up, it's like, he said I was a beast.
All right, now on to the most important Twitter question of the day. We asked you guys to go ahead and throw your votes. Who's cute between the puppies, the better laning phase, Jace and Jax? We asked, and it was no joke, almost entirely split down the middle.
What?
50% to 50%.
That's
I will.
fake.
No. It's, okay, so here's the thing. Because the absolute votes, Jace won by 3 votes total. So technically, Jace is the victor, but it didn't even break a full percentage point in terms of the polls, so it did land at 50-50.
I'm calling for a recount.
Yeah. All right, let me get on that real quick, Kobe. What?
How many votes were there?
I didn't get the cumulative total votes. I was just told the margin was 3, and that don't shoot the messenger.
Everybody's a winner here.
I'm just asking because
everyone is a winner when you got cute pups like that running around. So, all right, anything else you guys want to add to week 3 here?
I like dogs
and fidget spinners.
No, I just feel like I'm really excited about the league as a whole, because at the start I thought this was going to be one of the most competitive splits. And it's looking like that right now. Like you said, FlyQuest, TL are the 2 teams that right now look like they may be at the bottom, but they still have potential to start climbing back up. We've seen TL take some games off of teams, look like their bottom lane is almost beating up TSM's bottom lane, right? And they had avenues to victory. So the whole league is able to actually take wins off each other.
I'll just add, I agree. Coming in, I was thinking this might be one of the most competitive splits we've had, but mostly because there were so few changes made coming into week 1. I was like, cool, we'll largely mirror spring split. I'm happy to say it's been very competitive, but in no way, shape, or form reminiscent of necessarily spring split. So it speaks to a very exciting rest of the summer. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here on NALCS tonight. We'll see you guys next week for some more NALCS action. Have a good one.